older woman, younger man relationship. A connection that breaks the usual rules and reveals a deeper side of love. But what if these stories are not about controversy, but about real emotion and human connection? Brazilian cinema explores this theme in a bold and honest way. These films show older women as confident and experienced, while younger men are often searching for meaning, growth, and something they can't explain. When their worlds meet, the result is powerful, emotional, and unforgettable. So get ready, because these are the top 10 Brazilian movies about older woman-younger man relationships you need to watch. 1. Kasa Grande, 2014. At first, Kasa Grande feels like a story about money, class, and a rich family slowly falling apart. But as the film moves forward, it becomes much more than that. Directed by Felipe Barbosa, this movie follows Jean, a teenage boy from an upper-class family in Rio de Janeiro. His life looks comfortable from the outside, but things inside the home are starting to crack. Jean is surrounded by rules, social expectations, and a fake sense of security. His parents are struggling financially, even though they try to hide it. As Jean begins to notice the truth, he also starts looking at the people around him in a new way. The adults in his world are not as stable or perfect as they seem. What makes this film important for this list is the way it shows maturity and emotional distance between people of different ages. The story is not built around cheap drama. Instead, it quietly shows how age and experience affect relationships. Jean is young, curious, and confused. The older women around him carry more emotional weight and social awareness. That difference creates tension, but it also gives the film depth. The house itself becomes a symbol. It is big, elegant, and full of old power. But it is also trapping everyone inside it. Jean's journey is not just about growing up. It is about waking up. The relationships in the film help him see the truth about class, family, and himself. Kasa Grande works because it treats personal connection and social change as part of the same story. It is calm and smart and very real. 2. The Past, O Passado, 2007. Some films pull you in with action. The Past pulls you in with emotion. Directed by Hector Babenco, this film is heavy, intimate, and filled with the kind of pain that stays under the skin. It stars Gael Garcia Bernal as a man trying to move on from a broken long-term relationship. But the past refuses to let him go. The story is built around memory, obsession, and emotional damage. As the main character moves through different connections and encounters, the women in his life often seem more grounded and emotionally aware than he is. He feels lost, almost like he is drifting from one moment to the next without real direction. That is what makes the age and maturity dynamic so interesting here. The older woman is not shown as a fantasy. She is shown as someone with depth, experience, and control. She understands consequences in a way the younger man does not. He is still reacting to life. She has already lived through some of its hardest lessons. The film has a dark, polished style. The mood is serious, and the emotional tension never really disappears. It is not a movie for viewers looking for a light romance. This is a psychological drama that asks hard questions about love, emotional dependence, and the way old relationships shape new ones. What stands out most is how the film presents maturity as a force. Experience here is not boring or cold. It is powerful. It gives the older female figure a quiet strength that the younger man is drawn to, even if he cannot fully understand why. The Past is haunting, thoughtful, and emotionally intense. It shows that age gap relationships in cinema can be about much more than attraction. They can also be about memory, pain, and the search for emotional stability. 3. The Prince, O Principe, 2002. Not every film announces its meaning right away. The Prince moves more slowly. like a person returning to an old place and realizing it no longer feels the same. Directed by Ugo Giorgetti, this film follows a man who comes back to São Paulo after spending many years in Europe. He returns with history behind him and uncertainty ahead of him. As he reconnects with people and places from his past, the city feels both familiar and distant. It has changed, and so has he. The relationships in the film carry that same feeling. They are shaped by memory, age, and the quiet sadness of time passing. The older woman and younger man dynamic in this film is handled with subtlety. There is no loud drama or over-the-top romance. Instead, the film focuses on conversation, emotional texture, and shared understanding. The attraction here feels intellectual as much as emotional. It is about people meeting each other through reflection and experience. One of the strongest things about The Prince is its tone. It feels mature from beginning to end. The film trusts the audience to notice the details. A glance, a pause, a line of dialogue, or even a silence can carry a lot of meaning. This makes the relationships feel real and layered. The older female presence in the film represents more than romance. She reflects a kind of emotional sophistication. The younger male perspective brings curiosity and uncertainty. Together, they create moments that feel both personal and philosophical. This is not a flashy movie, but it stays with you. It shows how age gap relationships can be about timing, intelligence, and emotional honesty. Rather than focusing on what society thinks, the film focuses on what two people see in each other. The Prince is thoughtful cinema. It is a film about return, change, and the strange beauty of connection after years of distance. 4. Real Blesa, 2015. Beauty means different things at different ages, and Real Blesa understands that very well. Directed by Jorge Furtado, this film begins with a photographer searching for the perfect face. He travels through the south of Brazil looking for a young woman who fits a certain image in his mind. But what he finds is not what he expected. As the story unfolds, the younger man becomes involved with a mother and daughter, and the emotional center of the film grows richer. What begins as a search for visual beauty slowly turns into something deeper. The film questions what beauty really is, and whether it can ever be separated from age, wisdom, and personal history. The relationship dynamic here is especially interesting because it grows out of artistic attention. The younger man is first drawn by appearance, but the older woman offers something more lasting. She has presence, emotional depth, and a kind of quiet confidence that changes the mood of the entire story. This is one of the most visually striking films on the list. The landscapes are beautiful, the camera work is elegant, and the characters feel like part of the scenery in a meaningful way. But the film is not empty style. Beneath the beauty is a conversation about what people value and why. The older woman is not treated as secondary. She becomes central to the emotional energy of the film. Her age does not reduce her power. In fact, it gives her a stronger identity. The younger man sees something real in her, something that goes beyond surface-level attraction. Real Blesa stands out because it connects romance with art, perception, and self-awareness. It reminds viewers that beauty changes when you stop looking only with your eyes. Sometimes the most powerful connection comes from seeing someone as a full person, not just an image. 6. Amore Bandido, 1978. Some love stories are polished and elegant. Amore Bandido is not one of them, and that is exactly why it matters. Released in 1978, this film comes from a rougher, more direct period in Brazilian cinema. It looks at life on the edges of society, where survival often comes before comfort, and where relationships are shaped by pressure and need. The bond between the older woman and younger man in this film is built in difficult conditions. They are both outsiders in one way or another. Their connection is not framed as fantasy. It is a form of solidarity. They come together because the world around them has pushed them aside. That gives the film a raw honesty. The relationship is not disappointment and the cost of hope. The younger man still carries more impulse and uncertainty. That difference creates a sharp emotional contrast between them. What also makes Amore Bandido important is its place in Brazilian film history. It shows a side of the country and its social struggles without softening the edges. The age gap relationship becomes part of a larger picture about class, marginalization, and resistance. This is not a comfortable film, but it is an honest one. It reminds viewers that connection can grow in the hardest places. Sometimes people do not come together because life is beautiful. Sometimes they come together because life is harsh, and being alone feels even harder. Amore Bandido is gritty, emotional, and socially aware. It earns its place on this list because it turns an unconventional relationship into something real and deeply human. 7. River of Desire. O Rio do Desejo, 2022. There are films that feel realistic, and then there are films that feel almost mythical. River of Desire belongs to the second kind. Set in the Amazon region, this beautiful and mysterious movie tells a story filled with longing, jealousy, and emotional intensity. The natural setting gives the film a dreamlike quality, but the feelings inside it are very real. At the center of the story is a woman whose grace and maturity affect the lives of 3 brothers. Her presence changes the balance between them, especially when it comes to the younger men who are drawn to her in different ways. She is not just a romantic figure. She becomes a force in the story. What makes the film so powerful is the way it treats desire as something larger than individual attraction. The river, the forest, and the emotional tension all seem connected. The older woman is shown as calm, deep, and impossible to fully understand. That mystery is part of what pulls the younger characters toward her. The age difference matters here because it adds emotional weight. The younger men react with more passion and confusion, while the woman carries herself with a different kind of energy. She feels like someone who understands both beauty and danger. Visually, the film is rich and stunning. The Amazon is not just a background. It shapes the story's rhythm and mood. The natural world seems to watch everything that happens. That gives the relationship dynamics a poetic quality that few films achieve. River of Desire is one of the strongest recent entries in this theme because it blends romance with folklore, family tension, and emotional symbolism. It is about more than who desires whom. It is about the way one person can disrupt a whole emotional structure just by entering it. This film is intense, elegant, and unforgettable. It shows the older woman not as a side character, but as the very heart of the story. 8. Fake Blonde, Falsa Laura, 2007. Energy, ambition, and disappointment come together in Fake Blonde, a film directed by Carlos Reichenbach. Unlike some of the quieter movies on this list, this one has a stronger pulse. It moves through working-class life, pop culture, local fame, and the strange gap between dreams and reality. The story follows Silmara, a young woman trying to move through a world filled with fantasy, desire, and social frustration. The relationships around her are always shifting. Age, confidence, status, and experience all play a role in how people see and use each other. What makes this film interesting in the context of older women and younger men is the way it handles power and image. The older female figures are not passive. They carry a kind of hard-earned worldliness. They know how life works, and that gives them a different kind of presence compared to the younger characters who are still chasing illusions. The film does a strong job of showing how attraction can be tied to social class and personal ambition. A younger man may be drawn not only to beauty, but also to confidence, survival skills, and emotional toughness. In this way, age becomes part of a bigger story about identity and struggle. Fake Blonde also has a very distinct style. Its music, colors, and urban atmosphere give it energy, but there is sadness underneath it. This is not a glamorous world, even when it tries to look glamorous. That tension gives the film its bite. Rather than telling a smooth love story, the film shows messy emotional realities. People want more from life, but they do not always know how to reach it. Relationships become places where those hopes and disappointments collide. Fake Blonde is vivid, sharp, and emotionally complex. It offers a different angle on this theme by linking romance with class, ambition, and modern urban desire. 5. Intimacy Between Strangers, 2018. Sometimes the strongest emotional stories begin in silence. Intimacy Between Strangers is one of those films. Set inside a modern apartment building in Rio de Janeiro, it tells the story of two people living close to each other, but carrying very private forms of loneliness. The woman is married, but her husband is often away. These 10 Brazilian films prove that stories about older women and younger men can be thoughtful, emotional, and deeply meaningful. They are not all telling the same kind of story. Some are romantic, some are painful, some are quiet and healing. Others are filled with social tension, mystery, or poetic beauty. What connects them is the way they treat age not as a limit, but as part of the emotional truth of life. The older women in these films are not pushed to the side. They are often the strongest, most memorable people on screen. The younger men are not always in control. Many of them are learning, searching, or changing through the relationship. That is what makes these films worth watching. They challenge the usual ideas about romance and show that connection can happen in many forms. Brazilian cinema, with its honesty and emotional richness, gives these stories the space they deserve.